The C word, cancer, is what we're going to talk about in today's video. All right, welcome back. We made it to the finale, the last two amino acids, asparagine and glutamine. Asparagine and glutamine are part of the polar uncharged R groups. Asparagine, abbreviated with the letter N, as in like nobody knows why, is the 19th amino acid. So we got our usual shit, right? Alpha carbon, hydrogen, carboxyl, and amino group. The R group here is a CH2, which is bounded to a carbon, and this carbon has a double bond to oxygen, and a single bond to nitrogen, and the nitrogen has two hydrogens attached to it, so it's an NH2 group. All right, here's a weird story. How did asparagine come to be? Well, one day there were two guys, and these two guys decided, hey, I have some asparagus in my fridge. I'm going to put in the blender and blend it and get like a juice out of it. So I'm not even joking. So they took asparagus, they put it in the blender like woo, 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 right? Like I'm like here's a blender, right? Blender noises. I'm not even joking. I have a blender here and I filled it with water and just did that just for the sound effect. And they looked at what's in the juice, and they saw in the juice there's an amino acid there, but they didn't know what it was. So after more investigation, they're like, wow, this is an amino acid we've never seen before. And they isolated it, and they called it asparagine. Notice it kind of looks like asparagus. Asparagine, asparagus. That's how the name actually came to be. It's named after asparagus. The smallpox virus was a huge epidemic not too long ago. And the smallpox virus, what it did is if you were to get infected, you become filled with spots all over your face and body. It was terrible. You looked hideous. Sorry. And now smallpox virus undergoes protein synthesis. So the virus actually makes proteins for it to live and do, virus stuff. Well, for it to do protein synthesis, it actually requires asparagine. So the smallpox virus requires asparagine to actually live and do stuff, right? To make proteins, because proteins is literally like the building blocks of everything. So it required asparagine. The last amino acid is glutamine with a Q, because it's questionable. I don't know why it's a Q. It doesn't make any sense to me. So we have our stuff here again, right? We got our alpha carbon, hydrogen carboxyl amino group. You're gonna get tired. You're probably gonna be like, I miss Kishan saying this after he's done with these videos, but whatever. The R group is exactly the same as asparagine, except we have an extra CH2. So now you have CH2, CH2, then we get the carbon double bonded to an oxygen, and then the carbon's also single bonded to a nitrogen with two hydrogens. So NH2. Same thing, just an extra CH2 in there. That's glutamine. This is not glutamate, by the way. Sound very similar, but they're not. So a little fun fact is actually glutamate comes from glutamine. So to actually make glutamate and synthesize it, it comes from glutamine. That's one of the ways you guys should make glutamate. It's from glutamine. This is cancer. Cancer undergoes lipid synthesis. So it actually makes fat. So cancer cells make fat. It can synthesize it. But how? So cancer cells use a lot of glutamine to function and actually make fat. A lot of glutamine compared to your regular cells. Your regular cells do use glutamine for fat synthesis, but cancer cells use so much more. Glutamine is the most abundant amino acid in your body by far. You have the most glutamine out of all other 19 amino acids. Another fun fact about glutamine is the lining of your intestines is protected by glutamine. So the cells actually have glutamine to help them protect against harm. It basically protects the inner lining. Now, you were to think that if someone were to have some kind of intestinal issue, like Crohn's disease, or some kind of intestinal syndrome, whatever, that affected the lining of the intestines, you would think that by giving them glutamine, they would be better. That's actually false. For some reason, that's actually not how it works. And the research is still like, we don't know why. It would make sense, but it does not show. There's no evidence showing that glutamine actually does this. So it's kind of interesting. Another little last fact here is that glutamine, well, there's a disease called sickle cell disease. And it affects the shape of the red blood cells. That's what it is. Now, there was a test done where people with sickle cell were given glutamine, so a powdered glutamine. So they take glutamine and make it into a powder, like baby powder or whatever. And they would give it to these people with sickle cell. They realized that these people with sickle cell disease were in the hospital much less than people without given the powder. They were given a placebo, right? And the people with glutamine powder went to the hospital much less. So it's kind of interesting. So it probably does play a role in some kind of blood cells regulation or whatnot. But there's still so much research out there. So if you want to do some research on amino acids, do it on glutamine because it does so much in your body. This will wrap up amino acids. Well, me going over the amino acids. In the next video, video after that, I'm gonna go over synthesizing amino acids, rather combining amino acids together. How do they combine, form long chains? How do they break up? And the video after that will probably be chymotrypsin, which is a fun mechanism. It's not really fun, but just whatever. Anyways, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. And until next time, later.